Are we good? Can you hear me? It says my mic's not working. I'm late. I know I'm late. Fashionably late. How the hell are we feeling? Let's play a little intro. Get into it. I know I'm late. Today was training camp day 2. I was early to that. At least. At least I was early to that. All right. Sorry I'm so late. I was on the phone with someone. So, what's up? How we feeling? Training camp day two. It was a fun day. Again, it was nice just being there. A lot of people overreacted today on Twitter. I feel a lot of people are overreacting. It's day 2. There's no pads on. Just happy that nobody's getting hurt like a lot of other teams. Jalen Ramsey got hurt. Joe Burrow got hurt. No 49ers got hurt. You should be happy that the team got through training camp today without any injuries. It's day 2. Brock Purdy came back. Was he perfect? No. Was he rusty? Yes. Trey Lance need more reps? Absolutely. But it is what it is. The 49ers had training camp day 2. Football's in the air, and that's what matters. How's everybody feeling? How's everybody doing? Welcome to the show. I know it's a little late, but that's what we do now. A little late. I go when we can. I go when I have time. But yeah, so today was the big news of the day. Obviously, was the return of Brock Purdy. All eyes were on Brock. Literally everybody, all they wanted to talk about was Brock. That's it. That was the story of the show. Was Brock Purdy? He was QB1, just like Kyle Shanahan said. He says when he's there, he's QB1. He took all the reps with the first team. Did it all. He went through training camp today without any restrictions. He tried to test his limits. He had no setbacks, and that was the best part of today. You got it. That was the big takeaway, that he had no setbacks, no restrictions. He tried to test his limits. He threw a couple deep passes. Did he connect? No. Obviously, he needs to work on his accuracy. He was rusty. He said it. He says he feels like he's rusty. He needs to get his timing down with some of these guys. He didn't go to OTAs, and he said it himself. Like, I wasn't at OTAs. I need to get my timing back with the players. He missed the pass to Ayuk. Beautiful pass, by the way. Just not accurate. That was it. That was it. He just has to get his timing down. He's rusty. He's rusty. You guys can count the numbers. I know a lot of people count the numbers, the stats of training camp. I care less. No practice, no pads. Day 2. I don't really care about the numbers. I care that he was out there attempting throws, trying to dial it up, trying to make all the passes intermediate, short passes, deep passes. And that was it. He had 21 snaps. He threw 17 times. And that's a lot of work for a guy that hasn't been with the team since the NFC Championship game. He was recovering from a massive injury, a nasty injury, a big rehab over the summer. That's all we heard all offseason. We were worried. Will he be there? Will he be throwing? A lot of people didn't even know if he was going to be throwing in training camp, and he was today. So that's a dub to me. Yeah, he was rusty, but at the end of the day, a lot of people didn't even think he was going to be at training camp. So good to see. It was nice to see him there. And also you got to realize Brock is he's throwing against the first team defense, the best defense in the NFL, number 1 defense. And yeah, they're attacking him. They're ready to roll. The defense is always ahead of the offense, especially when camp starts, right? Whenever camp starts, the defense is always ahead. And I'll tell you what, man, when Brock came out, I think he was trying to prove himself. I think he was a little overhyped. Made some bad passes. The first 2 passes, incomplete, and it was an interception. The second one threw into double coverage. Tashawn Gibson made a nice little play. Threw it to Ayuk. He was trying to make it to Ayuk, and Brock Purdy said today in his presser, he said that was it. I just don't have the timing with Ayuk yet because we missed OTAs together, and he just doesn't have the timing. So he was trying to get it to Ayuk, and Gibson just ate him up. Beautiful play. Give credit to the defense. Don't get mad at Brock for throwing a play, a pick or whatever, or don't get mad for Trey to make a big, a bad pass. Whatever. Gotta give credit to his defense. Defense is good. He's gonna get there. You're right, Sean. He's gonna get there. He's gonna get there. It's day 1. It's day 1. I'm not worried about it. Tomorrow there's no open practice. Tears down my eyes, but we'll be back Sunday. They have practice. It's not an open practice. You can't be there. Um, S Flood. His Trey needs to stack days. Can't have days where he's just average. You know, I kind of felt the same today when I left, but the more I look into it and the more I think about it, like Trey, I feel like, and I said this before, and I said this yesterday, like he had a really good day, strong day. He was QB1. He was smiling. He was shining. He was confident. Remember the word I used? Trey Lance was confident yesterday. Today, I feel like, I don't know if he was less confident or he just was in his head, but you could tell he had his head down sometimes. You know, fumble snap. His first play was a fumble snap. And I'll talk about offensive line later, specifically the center of every player that's not named Jake Brendel that's been snapping the ball. No good right now. No good. We'll get to that though. We'll get to that. But for Trey Lance, the thing is, he's having to split reps with Sam Darnold. So the way it worked today, it was weird. It was like this weird. I don't know, you guys heard it. You guys have probably heard many people talk about it. So it was like a weird, like setup, obviously, because he had to split the snaps with Sam Darnold. So right, they had Purdy with the starters. He did everything with the team, with first team, and then Trey Lance and Sam Darnold took turns. Brandon Allen worked with the third team, right? So it was like Purdy, Trey, Allen, and then back to Purdy, and then Sam Darnold, and then Allen, and then back to Purdy, and then finally back to Trey. So it was like by the time he got there for his second set of plays, it's like a 20-minute period of nothing. You're sitting there, you're thinking, you're fascinating your thoughts, you're getting your muscles cold, you know, you're just sitting there. You're like sitting on the sideline. And then you got to get in there and run some plays. So it was definitely not an ideal situation for Trey and Sam Darnold because they got to split reps together. And then you got Allen is getting so many snaps, man. Like why is Brandon Allen getting a lot of snaps? I know you've heard a lot of people talk about the today, but nobody else is taking 13 reps, third team reps. So it's like Brandon Allen had probably the same amount of reps as Brock Purdy today. It's crazy. What's up, John? Kevin, QB rotation, in my opinion, he says, is Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, Brock Purdy. Ease Brock back into the rotation so he can test his elbow. I don't think you have to ease him in. I think at this point we got to see if he can go. You don't want him to like go half-ass in the offseason and training camp and stuff, and then when the season comes and he ramps up, he's not battle tested. I think you got to battle test him, see where he's at, make sure he has no setbacks. You know, maybe I'm different, but that's my rehab mindset. Is you gotta. I mean, they're ramping him up because he's gonna have 2 days on, 1 day off. So that's the ramp up. That's the ramp up period. But today, he had a heavy dosage. He was the guy. He was number one all day. I think that's smart. I think you got to see if he had setbacks, if he has any issues, if he gets fatigued, then you know he's not ready. Channel 49 says Brandon Allen has got some blackmail on the coaching staff. I wouldn't be surprised. Sharyu says, man, this could all have been solved if we just took Patrick Mahomes at 2017. Let's not bring that up. We all know. They could have had Watson or Mahomes. But they like Solomon Thomas. Let's not talk about it. What's up, drunk Polish? But yeah, so that was it. It was again, Brock Purdy, he came back, took first team reps, a little rusty, but he was trying all the passes. He had no limitations and he had no setback. That was the biggest thing is Brock Purdy was out there and he didn't have any setback. It's just nice to see him throwing, right? Again, NFC Championship game, the last time we saw him, you know, he gets his torn UCL and you have Kittle asking him if he's ambidextrous, can he throw with the left? And then he has surgery and rehab. And today he threw. So it was a very good day for Brock Purdy. Was he rusty? Absolutely. And then Trey Lance, like I say, didn't get enough time out there. I want to see more. And Sam Darnold. If those two guys are battling for QB2, give them their rep. Brandon Allen just needs to sit this one out. I'm sorry. Sit this one out. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So Stephen Reynolds says, if Brock's the starter week 1, which he probably will be, he's QB1. He's your starter for week 1. But he's struggling, then bench him for Trey. I mean, we don't know how far the leash is, but that is the thing. I don't think you bench him if he's struggling. He's got to kind of get up to speed. But if he's hurt, if he's having setbacks, that's why you need to make sure that whoever's behind Brock, which is most likely Trey Lance and Sam Darnold. Whoever that QB2 is has to be ready for their moment. You never know if anybody's going to finish the season with the 49ers in terms of quarterback, in terms of injuries. I hate to say that, but players get hurt. Knock on wood that nobody gets hurt. But if, worst case scenario, if Brock gets abducted by aliens or he gets hurt or whatever the case is, you need to make sure Trey Lance is ready to take that team and be full, go and ready to take this team to Super Bowl if Brock can't play for whatever reason. And for him to split reps with Sam Darnold and having to watch Brandon Allen take all these passes, it's not doing him any justice. That's just my opinion. That's the way I see it. We'll see what happens, though. And he's coming off an injury, too. It's not like Trey Lance is not coming off an injury. He's coming off an injury, too. Give him the reps. He needs to make sure he can be ready just like everybody else. He's coming off an injury. Maybe Kyle forgot. My man Drunk says, Allen needs to take a lap, man. Hit the showers. Right? Sean says, we would have dealt with Jackson, Mahomes, and Brittany. I mean, is that a fair trade-off, though? If you have Patrick Mahomes, who's probably the best quarterback in the NFL, you have to take Brittany and Jackson Mahomes. Is that a fair trade-off? I think so, if you can win Super Bowls. Right? I'll take the Super Bowls, and I think Jackson Mahomes would thrive in San Francisco. Right? Yeah. But anyway, that's the case for the quarterbacks. Brock, again, he's back. Let's see if he can shake off the rust. I want to see how he does on Sunday. We'll see how he does on Sunday. And I want to see more out of Trey and Darnold, see how they do. Going to be unfortunate that there's no training camp tomorrow, but we'll see. Maybe the team will report for us. I don't know. We'll see. And then let's talk about some other guys that stood out to me. So Talanoa Hufanga, this guy's been money the first 2 days so far. I mean, this guy looks like he's just going to be even better this year. He's locked in. He's so focused. He's all over the field. This guy's coming in like a young leader. Hufanga on defense has been great. And obviously, Brandon Ayuk on offense has been cooking. He's Chef Ayuk. We got a Chef Curry in the Bay. Steph Curry out in Golden State. I think we got Chef Ayuk, man. This boy is cooking. Put in the pot. He's putting the chicken in the pot. He's just cooking. This guy, man, give him the chef's hat because this guy cooking. Routes are solid. I mean, every time they're looking for him. Every quarterback's looking that when he's in, they're looking for BA. There's a few missed passes. There was a beautiful pass. Purdy's best pass of the day, which was an incomplete, was to Ayuk. If he would have caught this play, oh my God. I tell you what, even though Purdy was rusty, if he would have made this play, I'm telling you what, it would have made up for the fact that he, missed on a lot of passes. It just would have sent shockwaves. People would have been like, oh my God. But again, like Brock said, he felt like he was rusty and he didn't have that timing with him. But Ayuk, man, he's just been cooking. He's been cooking. Let's see. Let's get to some more questions. Kevin says, "Who's starting secondary in your opinion?" There's no question. I think the starting secondary has already been set in stone. You got Mooney Ward, Diamond Lenore, and Isaiah Oliver at nickel, and then safety is Gibson and Talanoa Hufanga. That's it. That's your secondary. That's your starting secondary. Very easy. There's no controversy there. And the secondary for the second straight day has been money in the bank. They've been the best unit so far. I tell you what, man, Sam Womack, let's put some respect on Sam Womack because he's looked good. Agent Zero, he's playing good, man. He's making some PBUs. He's making the most of his opportunity. He played good last year in training camp as a rookie. Sam Womack looks good again this year. I really like what I've seen out of him. He's very aggressive. He's quick. He's making plays. He's getting the PBUs. Like what I've seen out of him. We have really good depth. Ambry Thomas made some plays today. I was like, let's go, Ambry. Let's go, Ambry. Nice to see it. He's playing with passion this offseason. He knows it. He's got to make this roster. He has to play hard, and he's cooking. He's cooking. I know I got some Ambry Thomas notes in here. He looked good on a few plays, and I was impressed. He made a couple plays that I was like, okay, Ambry. Yeah, breaks up a pass to Cameron Latu. He had a broken up pass, I think, to Jennings at one point. The guy made good plays today. I like it. But Sam Womack has been a dog so far. Very aggressive, very very quick out there, very decisive in the secondary. Again, secondary has been really good. Giacomo Lenore and Mooney Ward and everybody coming out with speed, and a lot of blitzes being dialed up at times from Wilkes. I really like what I've seen out of Wilkes. Very aggressive so far. Very, very aggressive. He's definitely putting a lot of emphasis on these defensive backs, right? He let me see. He also kind of is good at teaching. There was a sequence where you know Ayuk catches a ball, well covered, good coverage, but Ayuk's just Ayuk, and he catches it over Mooney Ward. Wilkes comes out and he's like trying to tell him, like, look, you need to put your hand. Like he was like teaching him right after the play. He's like going up to him and he's telling him how he should have reacted to the play. Guess what happened? Next time Mooney Ward was leveled up with Ayuk, next time they went up, Mooney Ward got a PBU. It's nice. I was like, I like Steve Wilkes. He's hands on. I like him. It was a nice little sequence. It was a nice little play. Oh shit, breaking stuff. It was a nice little sequence, nice little play. Steve Wilkes is good. I like him so far. I mean, he's got big shoes to fill, but so far so good. You're right, Flood. For years, I've been preaching the depth at corner. Maybe they're listening to. Maybe they finally listen to me because I've been saying it for years. Get some cornerbacks, and they got really good depth, man. It's nice to see the cornerbacks shining bright. Gibson today. Gibson had the pick today. Second pass of Brock Purdy's day. Double coverage, and Gibson ate it up. Looking good. He's looking good for the vet. I like this secondary. This is a good question, Sati. What rookie has stood out the most? Jair Brown has looked good for the first 2 days. He's consistently been one of the first two players out, him and Hufanga. So that's a good sign that he's hungry. He's ready to learn. He's coming out very, very, energetic. But he's also looked good on the field. He's been running hard, running fast. He's going to be dialed up in blitz packages, I'm telling you. I really like what I see out of Jair Brown this year. I think he'll definitely get a lot of action in special teams like Hufanga did in his first year, and they'll mix him in a few plays here and there. He's got a knack for the ball. I like Jair Brown. And let me tell you this. Today, the rookie that stood out is your third-round pick. Kicker. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the kicker, Jake Moody. This guy was, on my count, I might have missed a kick. Somewhere. I told the story on YouTube. We got pressed by some Karen. There's when you're there and you're sitting in the backside, the bleachers and stuff. You can only have your phone out for a certain time to film content. There's a point where they put a sign that says "Put your phones away." We didn't have we weren't on our phones. Like I had it down, but I had my notebook, the handy dandy notebook with the notes and everything on it. And, I had my phone, like, right here. All of us did. We're sitting there. We had our phone there. But she comes up to us specifically because she knows she sees us, all the content creators up there. And she screamed, "Put your phone away." So I might have missed because there was a time where I'm sitting. I'm like, okay, I'll put the phone away because she's crying about it. So I had my phone down, whatever. So I'm taking notes. But there was a time that I had to look down, a few times, look at notes. I might have missed the time where he kicked it. But I got him for 5 for 5. Everybody else has him for 6 for 6. He was perfect. The numbers don't matter to me. What matters to me, long story short, what matters to me is the fact that he's kicking those things and they could go further. He had a 50-yard one. Obviously, no pads, no pass rush, whatever, no defense coming at him. Free kick, but he looks good. I like Jake Moody. Perfect. It's perfect. He's got a good leg. He has a very good leg. Better for a third-round kicker. Jake Moody's nice. So we'll get to these questions. Kevin says, any new updates on the Nick Bosa contract extension negotiations? BA should be next since they both are in their fifth-year option. Yeah, I think BA will get paid this year. He's in contract season. We all know he wants to get paid, and if he has another good season like he did last year, they better show him the money. But I think that we shouldn't worry about Nick Bosa. Nothing changed today. They're still looking for his contract. And once he signs it, he'll step on the field. Just waiting to get signed. He's not going to lose any money. He's not going to get fined. He's a first-round pick. He had his fifth-year option. And Kyle Shanahan explained the situation. He's not going to get fined. They're waiting, trying to get the language, correct on these contracts. There's a lot of incentives they have to put. And I'm sure the Niners are working diligently. And Nick Bosa, I'm sure he's working as hard as he can, like he always does, to stay in shape. The guy trains very good. He's very disciplined. He has a very strict regimen that he follows. Nick Bosa is going to be ready. They trust him. That's why there's no drama there. They trust him to come into camp ready to rock and roll. It's just a matter of time. There's no issue with Nick Bosa. As soon as they put the pen to the paper, he'll be there. So. You're right, John. I love it. He should have shanked one upside her head. Tabor's the best long snapper in the league. We all know that. He's the man. Sean says Bosa gets paid on July 31st, exactly 1 year after Debo got paid. I like the prediction, Sean. Let's see if you're right. July 31st. Is that Monday? Is that Monday? It's Monday. If he gets paid Monday, Sean, you're getting a shout out on all my pages. Shout out to Sean if he gets it right. I hope he does. That's nice. I want to see it. When's our rest day? So our first day off is Saturday. Tomorrow there's a practice, but it's not an open practice. And then they're off on Saturday, then open practice again on Sunday and Monday, and then all that stuff. Yeah, it's nice though. No disrespect to Robbie. Robbie was clutch, and he was money in the playoffs. Never missed a field goal in the playoffs. So as good as Moody's leg is, and as much hype as he has right now, he has big shoes, no pun intended, to fill. Okay, maybe there was a pun intended. He has very big shoes to fill. Robbie Gold was clutch money in the playoffs. That's going to be hard to replace. But I like what Moody's bringing to the table. Yeah. Let's see. Pay Nick Bosa. He'll get paid. V says camp works. Defensive MVP last year. Bosa. He's the man. John says this signing doesn't freak me out like Kittle's and Debo's because we just know that it will get done. The others made me uneasy. You know, I agree with that, John. Nick, if you know like the history between George Kittle and his whole situation, the agent, like his agent was playing hardball. That whole situation behind the scenes was like really, oh my God. That's why people really were, saying pay George Kittle. Like there was a movement because there was a time where I don't think Kittle thought he was gonna get paid from his agent told him straight up, I don't know if we got to be tough on him. It was a really cutthroat negotiation. I can't remember who wrote an article on it. It's very well done. I don't remember who, but it was a very well done article, and they explained it, the whole thing, all the behind the scenes. I was like, oh God, it was nasty, man. And I think a lot of it was because he's a tight end, and at the time, tight ends still didn't have that market, and it was like, we're gonna really pay this guy that much money. And it was nasty. It was a nasty contract negotiation, and thank God they got it done. And then Fred Warner, it started off kind of similar, but they smoothed it out, and his agent was money. And then last year Debo, his agent was getting everybody paid gazillion dollars, So I'm not too worried about Bosa's situation. Yeah, John, you got to look it up, man. There's some behind the scenes on the whole Kittle contract. It was like it was like cutthroat, dude. It was cutthroat. Steven says, "Have you heard George Kittle acknowledge the team's window could be closing?" Let's bring this up. Let me pull this up. I actually have this because I wanted to talk about it. So good. That's a good way. We'll segue to that. I mean, it's not all about training camp. I'm sure you guys have heard many people talk about training camp already today. And, I was live on Instagram. We'll talk a little bit more about training camp, but let's segue. This is what George Kittle said today. He says that, so he acknowledged that the team's window could be closing, right? A lot of people talk about this window. How big is the window for the 49ers to win the Super Bowl? Obviously, they have a lot of great players on this team, right? But they're getting older. Their money isn't going to be there forever. And George Kittle kind of hit on that, right? He says, we understand that the window, whatever that is, could be closing. We're going to try our best just to keep that window open as long as we possibly can. But we're going to try to sneak out some wins while that window is open. Wins in terms of the window, meaning Super Bowl wins. They want to try to get some Super Bowl victories as long as the Super Bowl window is there. And he says, I think that something that our team is very aware of. They know, this team knows that you can't be great forever, right? We have a lot of highly paid players on this team who have earned that money, and you can only pay so many guys. And we know that some of those guys are at the end of their contracts, the end of the guarantees, and that's when things start to move. When players start, getting to the point where they're at the end of the contract, are they going to stay? Are they going to get moved? Are they going to go to another team? You got a lot of young players. You got a lot of good up-and-coming players. Can't pay everybody. So that's where Kittle's on this stance, and I agree. Like, you can't pay everybody. We've lost players over the last couple of years. DeForest Buckner, we had to lose DJ Jones. We couldn't bring him back, and Laken Tomlinson. Like, there's been guys that we really liked on this team, and we couldn't keep them, right? Emmanuel Mosley. Sometimes money forces you to make decisions that the fans don't like, and maybe that drops the window. But the thing with the Niners is, where I maybe push back on Kittle, is this team develops talent so good, and they're so good at drafting. As long as they can continue to draft these late round gems, 5th, 6th, 7th undrafted players, we should be okay as long as we can develop them. Kittle himself was a 5th round pick. We have a Dre Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga, like all these guys that are key players for us. We're not first round talent or first round picks. They might have been first round talent. They weren't first round picks. So in a sense, I agree with Kittle because you can't keep everybody. But on the other side is this team is so good at drafting and scouting and talent evaluation and talent development that maybe we can go on longer than they think. So, good, that was good. We need to get that ship, though. You're right. Shariu says they got to win one in the next 2 to 3 years. That's the window. They have 2 to 3 years. I think that's fair. Sean says the team is clearly in a win now mode. We are stacked in both offense and defense, and the QB's health is really crucial. That's why everyone wants Purdy to be QB1. He's solid since he started. I think you hit it on the head, and I was explaining this to someone too, because they were like, man, Trey needs a shot. Trey, why can't? Well, I feel bad for Trey. And I get it. I agree. He was a number 3 pick. But what the Niners saw out of Brock Purdy last year was, okay, here's a guy. He's made the most of his opportunities, and they won games. Maybe he's not as talented as Trey. Maybe Trey does have a higher ceiling, but they know now, after what they saw last year, is they can win games with Brock Purdy. What do you need to do in the NFL is win games. The team believes in him. He won games. They have a win now roster with all this talent, and if Brock Purdy gives you the best chance to win games now with this roster, you got to let it roll. You got to roll with it. And then it's not a slight to Trey Lance. It really isn't. Because they don't know if they could win with Trey Lance. But they know they could win with Brock Purdy. That's really what it comes down to. Trey has only started 3 games, Sean. You're right. I know. John, and this is the other side of the argument, is we don't want to have a 30 for 30 on Trey Lance. It's a reality, though. It could happen. So. I think Travis Scott dropped Utopia. My phone's going crazy. I have to listen to it soon. Nathan says, I don't want to go back to the dark days. I don't think we will. We're not going to be bad for maybe. And you got to think about it. Okay, the window might be 2 to 3 years for winning the Super Bowl. I still think this team will be good and be a playoff contender as long as Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are there and Adam Peters. Look at what they've done, man. In 2017, when they took over, this roster was such dog trash. Like, it was so bad. Guys like Lewis Murphy was one of the top receivers. Who? They had no talent. And now look at this team. This is the most abundantly rich team in the league. Some of the most highest paid players are on this team. It's crazy. It's crazy. Debo had an off year last year, and he's number 61 in the NFL Top 100. That's crazy. So, crazy. Oscar says he got that dog in him. We all know Brock Purdy has that dog in him. He does. He does have that dog. Play with broken ribs. But that's another topic for another day. We can bring that up. Let's get back to training camp. Let's see if there's any specific questions on training camp. Like I said, I talked a lot about this on my Instagram earlier tonight. we did talk about another guy that I haven't mentioned here today on YouTube tonight that I got to give him a mention because 2 days in a row he's been looking good. Ty Davis Price, TDP. Yeah, you know me. TDP. Looking good. He's looking really good, man. TDP's looking really nice, fast. He's quick, catching passes out of the backfield. I like what I've seen out of him. He's been the best running back in camp so far. 2 days. I'm not gonna lie to you. The running backs have been very nice. I mean, the depth of the running backs is just sick, man. It's just phenomenal. I tell you, these running backs are good. Jordan Mason ran with purpose today. Had a bounce back day. Yesterday he had a little bit of a fumble issue. Today Jordan Mason ran very, very, very hard. But again, it's hard to really make a full assessment on running backs because they don't have the pads. So they're all gonna look quick because they're flying without pads. You put the pads on, it's gonna wear you down. Will you still be quick when you get the pads on? But TDP has looked absolutely electric. That's a good word for him. Electric. He looks good. So TDP, shout out TDP. Today, Elijah Mitchell got a lot of action. CMC was in there for a few plays here and there. The first team unit drill 11 on 11. CMC got a lot of good action there. Left side behind Trent, he was gone. Oh, he's gonna be dangerous. I'm telling you, just run to the left. Although you can't just always run to the left because then you get predictable. So I really hope that right side starts to take off. But again, it's training camp without pads. You can't really assess the O-line. I think it's better once you get the pads and you can have the O-line, D-line drills going against each other. That's when you can make a fair assessment. But I do need to see the right line block better for the run game. And we'll see. That's Colton McKivitz. Can he be able to step up and seal those blocks? And I don't know if he has the speed to run that zone blocking scheme. They say he's a better pass protector than Mike McGlinchey. He better be, or he's going to be the next meme of this team. Meme team. He's going to be on the meme team. But yeah, what I was saying is TDP looks good. Elijah Mitchell got a lot of snaps with the first team today because CMC, after his initial kind of run, he didn't get to do much else. They're being very cautious with Kittle and CMC. They don't want him to get hurt. They're letting them make sure they're precautionary. That's the vibe I get is, okay, you get a little bit of Kittle, sprinkle a little bit of CMC, and then, okay, cool, chill. Let's let these other guys do their work because there's a lot of tight ends that need to be assessed. There's a lot of running backs that need to be assessed. And Elijah Mitchell got a lot of action today. Healthy, that's the key word for him, and he looked very healthy. There's another guy in terms of running backs that looked good today that was a undrafted player. This guy, you know who told me about this guy? This guy, Wayne Breezy, when we were doing our shows in the summer before I got too sidetracked and busy and everything, when I took my little leap of absence here from YouTube. Kalen Laybourne, am I saying his name right? Laybourne. This guy I've never seen him. He was flying out there. He's fast. He's fast. Undrafted. 49ers find some crazy undrafted players. And this guy, there's another, Ronald A. Watt. He was the other undrafted guy. I liked what I saw out of him too. But this guy, Laybourne, nice. He was nice with it. I wrote his name down a couple times here because I was really impressed. He's good. I like what I saw of this guy. He's fast. He just has so much talent at the running back position. Sacktown Izzy says, Lance is leading the charge right now at the QB competition. I wouldn't say that. Dream says, I haven't seen you live in a minute. Yeah, it's been a long off season. I kind of took a little, I was a little MIA. I'm not going to lie to you. But glad you're back. Glad I'm back. Brock could have hit that pass to Sanders. Let's not talk about that pass to Sanders. Oh, get nightmares. Today he was throwing darts. He was throwing them far. Let's work on that accuracy. Will the O-line be able to protect the quarterback, whoever's back there? That's the question, Showboat. That is the million-dollar question. We know Trent can. Aaron Banks should be better. Jake Brendel, he was nice with it. He looked good last year. And Spencer Burford, when he was in there last year, he was good. This year, he's going to get a lot more action because he split last year with Brunskill. Now he's going to be the solo right guard out there. Unless Feliciano comes in and challenges him. And then it's Colton McKivitz. Can Colton McKivitz hold that right side down? That's the big question. That's the big question. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Good question, because I did want to talk about this. We did mention that, George Kittle kind of keeping it light on Kittle. He's not doing too much. Kittle doesn't need to go. He doesn't need practice. He just needs to make sure he doesn't get injured, right? So let's talk about the tight ends, because there's a lot to talk about. Ross Dwelly, that man's got cocoa butter, oil, fish grease on his hands. He's dropping. He was dropping. He made a really bad drop. First pass that he got thrown his way from Brock Purdy. The drop. See, this is what I hate, because everybody's saying, Brock was terrible. Brock was terrible. This pass was on him. It was on the money. And Dwelly just dropped. What are you doing? Did you have your hand in a bucket of popcorn? Buttered popcorn? Did you do that before you came out here? Because you could have caught that. Ross Dwelly, he's going to be fighting for a spot. I'm telling you. Charlie Warner, he had a drop. He's not known for his hands. He's going to probably make the team because he can block. But Charlie Warner did have a drop today. Now, the rookies caught it better. Cameron Latu had a couple opportunities. There was one pass. He got broken up. We talked about that on my Instagram. He got broken up pass by Ambry Thomas. Ambry Thomas made a play on him. Very aggressive play. And then Willis, the other rookie tight end, he had a couple passes. He had a couple passes thrown his way, and he caught him. But they both made a mistake. Okay? And that was tough. So Braden Willis, there was a moment where he was unsure of where he lined up, and he kind of needed Kyle had to come out and help him. He's a rookie, so I don't think it was a bad thing. It's just rookie not knowing where to be on a play. But if that happens in a game, that ain't good. That's why you practice and you fine-tune things. But that definitely was something that I saw. Okay, that was a negative for him. But he had a good day in terms of catching the ball. He held on to the ball. That was a good thing. And then the other guy, Latu, he had a false start. So that's not good for him. But he had a lot of, action in terms of, trying to, passes attempted to him, and he made a few catches. So those two, in terms of catching the ball, Latu and Willis, they were better than Dwelly and Warner in terms of catching the ball. They did make some rookie mistakes, but that's expected. They made rookie mistakes. To clean that up, if you keep catching the ball, you'll make the team. So, good question. Now let's talk about another issue. The backup center, whoever the hell it is, because Jake Brendel, when he's there, is fine. But all the other centers were missed snap, bad snap, fumble snap. Who the hell's the center? They got to fix that depth. And that was something that we talked about in the offseason with Larry, is depth, the depth at offensive line. So the starters, I think, are fine, but the backups, I don't know. It's early, though. It's only day 2. But there was a lot of issues with the snaps yesterday and a lot of issues today. And clean that up. Dream. Number 69. Who reminds you of Little Max Crosby. So this guy, Spencer Wagey. This is Larry Krueger's guy. If you've watched him live this offseason, or if you've seen our shows that we do on Mondays, Spencer Wagey, number 69. This guy, according to Larry Krueger, is a monster. He has a high motor. I like what I've seen out of him. He does that. Larry was right. He's a high motor guy. He's just running. He's like Max Crosby, very energetic. Yeah, I like the guy. Sati says he watched Latu and Bama. He was Bryce Young's favorite. He was one of his favorite targets. He's a chain mover. But he got to clean up those mistakes. But yeah, you could tell he's going to be one of those guys that can get move those chains. Terrence says he said he reminded him of Aldon Smith. Did he say Aldon Smith? Good night, Sally. That's a great comparison. Larry gets a little hype beast on some players, though. I love him. But he gets hype beast on some players. Like when he likes a player, he likes a player. I trust his. I trust him though because he was a former. He's been in the NFL for a long time. He knows his shit. So, yeah, I think that's it for tonight. We'll take maybe two more questions. That's all I got for tonight. I'm tired. It was a long day at work, and let me get some rest. I got to go back to work in the morning again, early in the morning. But no open practice tomorrow, so we'll be back Sunday at open practice. I'll take maybe two more questions here and we'll call it a night. I appreciate you guys for hopping in. I know it was late tonight, a little later than I expected, so we'll keep it a little short tonight. So again, biggest thing is you got to realize all this stuff you got to take with a grain of salt. No pads. It's day 2. Players are just trying to get acclimated to everything, but it is nice to see them out there, doing their thing. And my overall takeaway though, Brock Purdy's arm looked good. He was able to take 17 pass attempts during scrimmage. He had no restrictions. He was letting it loose, man. It was definitely nice to see. So, yeah. I do want to see more action for Trey. I don't like how he's having to split with Sam and then Allen getting so many reps. They need to fix that, but what do I know? Yeah, I started late. You're right. Terrence, this is a good question. We'll end on this. What DB stand out to you, man? I'm telling you, the DBs have really played impressive. Sam Womack has really played hard. I think Jair Brown, the rookie, 2 days in a row, he's played really hard, and he's coming out early. It's good for him. He's hungry. Ambry Thomas surprising me. He's making some plays. He's working his butt off, man. I don't know if he makes the final roster, but I like what I've seen out of Ambry Thomas. He's hustling. So it's good to see. And the DBs are being very aggressive. The Steve Wilkes, he has no problem dialing up a blitz. And man, Talanoa Hufanga, as good as Brandon Ayuk has been on offense, Talanoa Hufanga has been that good on defense. So, Dream, I love the coaches. I really, really, really love the coaches. I like Steve Wilkes, man. The guy's he's hands on. He's teaching. He's really getting these guys buzzing. Coaches are good, and we all know like Chris Kasurik and all the other guys they have. But I'm enjoying Steve Wilkes. Again, he has big shoes to fill, but I like what he says. Debbie says, "You know a lot. I appreciate you. Any funny neighbor stories? Not lately, but I know I'll have some. There's always stories around where I live. I always have stories for you. Maybe I'll have some stories later this week for you. I always have stories from work too. Tons of stories. If you know, you know." This is a good question. How did they evaluate Trey Lance, and how did they miss so many premature tendencies, footwork, throw motions? I think they just fell in love with the person. When you look back at some of the interviews, Kyle just said how he was won by his personality and who he was as a person. I think they saw something in him that they're like, oh man, this might be a certain type of quarterback they thought they had. But you got to remember, man, North Dakota, and then the injuries came up, and it just there's a lot that went into Trey Lance and his recruiting, and them scouting him. I think he has the intangibles, but he's so young. He played 1 year of college at North Dakota. He's so raw. He needs more time, and there's a lot of politics that went into it. I don't want to get into it, but there's a lot of politics. And I think on any other team, Trey Lance would have been given that opportunity to come in and play. 49ers didn't have that for him. And I feel like he kind of was behind the 8 ball, and he waited and he waited and he finally got his opportunity. And then he got hurt. And unfortunate for them, for him, they got this guy Brock Purdy just in case they had injuries, that they needed to make sure just in case. They got to be safe. They didn't know what the hell was going to happen with Jimmy, and they safeguarded themselves. And unfortunately for Trey, he got hurt, and then this guy Brock came out of nowhere, and he really impressed them. If they didn't get Brock, maybe Trey's. There's no question about Trey being started, but the injuries really messed him up. And again, he was raw coming out, and I think that first year with the Niners, I think they did him a disservice by really not giving him any opportunities. So it's tough, man. I think he has the intangibles, but he's young. And the one thing I always say about Trey is he just has to be confident. And I noticed today, and this is what I said yesterday. I said, okay, he looked great yesterday without Brock. Without Brock there, he looked good. I don't know if he let it get to him, but I kind of feel like he kind of let Brock being out there got to that. Maybe that's maybe I'm looking into it too much, but I do feel like today he was a little down on him, so he had to head down a few times after a messed play or whatnot. I think the pressure was there, and I just didn't see him feel as confident as he was yesterday when he was QB1. He was swagging. Today, I didn't see that swag out of him. Everybody was talking about, they were glazing Brock. I was glazing Brock. We were all glazing Brock. Everybody was hyped on Brock. Trey was just kind of there. It's kind of weird. He was just kind of there. And Brock was the star of the show. Yesterday, Trey was the star of the show. He's a young guy. It's a mental game, Sean. But anyways, that's it for tonight. I love you guys. I hope you have a good night. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow.